Wilhelm set Jamaica back, he said, perhaps by about 10 years. And then he said, look, regarding the Cuban medical health program, we do hope that Cuba will have a change of heart on this matter. The olive branch was still there. The Prime Minister did well. And he's definitely the star of these debates. And it's not just on form. The Prime Minister did well on substance. He delivered quite a bit for us to unpack, dissect, and to consider. I felt it.
There you go. That's Tyrone Reid. He said he felt it for Mr. Golding yesterday. Mr. Golding, he said, got knocked out. And it is interesting that those two perspectives are out there. And we will have to hear a little bit more from our listeners if they agree with those. Now, last night we had Harry, who gave the opposition leader 9.5 out of 100 for his budget presentation. We have Harry up here. We're going to get to him soon. I got some response from that. People felt that it was too harsh, that Harry's grade of the Prime Minister missed the mark. He's here. He can defend that for himself. The opposition leader, along with his colleagues, when they turned up at Parliament yesterday, were asked to comment on what they were expecting of the Prime Minister. Here is Mark Golding.
With a plan for taking the pressure off of the people of Jamaica at this time, as we face the ravages of a world economy where oil prices, energy prices, and agricultural and manufacturing prices are all going to be going up, on top of the lingering major damage caused by the hurricane last year, which is still very much impacting Western Jamaica.
I would really want to hear about our
Dayton Campbell.
I'm going to read Bill, but I'm sure that's not what I'm going to hear.
I think that we have properly sold that it is not efficient and that there are alternatives that are around.
Prime Minister to say this budget presentation. What I'm going to hear is a history lesson about things that are impacting on the country now.
The Prime Minister must himself acknowledge that his government is doing the best that it can and that it is functioning quite efficiently.
To hear about things that are taking credit for the public program.
It's a little muffled, so I probably will not take that, but it's interesting that the opposition members were quite attuned. And at one point, Mr. Crawford said that the people of Jamaica will have to make a decision when they go to the polls in 2030. I found that to be very interesting. Let's, before we bring in the guys, listen to a bit of what the Prime Minister said. Listen to him on the medical program.
The Cuban doctors and nurses have assimilated quite well in our hospital system and have developed strong bonds with the people they serve. I can say that Jamaicans love them and want them to stay. However, there were some aspects of the program which were brought to the attention of the Cuban counterparts, to include how personnel were paid, that run counter to our own laws and several international conventions. We were hopeful that adjustments could be made to the program to make it compliant and that we could have reached some agreement where we could continue to have the direct services of the Cuban health professionals who are here. We continue to be hopeful that some agreement, arrangement, some changes can be made to the program. We continue to be. However, Madam Speaker, I want it to be noted and always acknowledged in the debate that every year since I have been Prime Minister and before, in this House, we have debated motions on the embargo on Cuba. Yes, my administration did that. Carrying on the position of the PNP administration and the JLP administration before and the PNP administration before. So this notion about abandoning friends and look here, man, keep that in the 70s. We are in a different era now. All my speeches to the UN General Assembly, there are a few lines in there about Cuba and the embargo. When I spoke at CARICOM, I spoke fairly and frankly. As our closest neighbor, we are concerned for the situation in Cuba. Through CARICOM, Jamaica will do its part to offer support for our brothers and sisters in Cuba. And let me say from the outset, and let me say.
All right, so that's the matter concerning Cuba. Very, very topical one. The Prime Minister addressed that yesterday, all of last week. Well, this week, we had discussions about the Cuban medical doctors and, of course, nurses. I see the Cuban putting out a statement today. I saw it just before we came on air. Didn't get a chance to read through it. I hope I can do that. And then the Prime Minister spoke about Jamaica's foreign policy. Here is he speaking about Jamaica's foreign policy.
About foreign policy. Because there's no other era in which Jamaica's foreign policy has delivered economic benefits for the people. A strong multilateral system is in Jamaica's interest, and we will always do our part to ensure it works. The essence of agency is that you act on your own will. As a responsible member of the global community, Jamaica will always take the necessary action to be compliant with all our obligations under the multilateral system. Nobody has to put sanction on us or force us because we have agency. The country would have seen this in our actions when our actions caused us to be removed from the FATF and the AML-CTF grey list in 2024. Grey list, the way our structure and system was, it was reviewed, we ended up on the grey list. Every member of the government worked very hard, including members of the opposition, to pass the necessary legislation, make the necessary policy changes. I mean, there were those saying that these, imperialists imposing global financial things on us, make we resist it. And what? Lose access to the international banking system? That's the logic of the argument. Yes, there are things we must resist when it comes to our values. there are things that define us as Jamaicans that we're not going to change on those. Man is a man, woman is a woman.
All right, so that statement, man is a man, woman is a woman, is causing a bit of stir in Jamaica. LB something or the other. They have put out a statement today saying that the Prime Minister was not sensitive. I don't know what's wrong in saying a man is a man and a woman is a woman. I don't know what's wrong with that, because that's not attacking anyone's sexuality. And let me tell you this, and I speak this as a Christian. I don't get involved with people's sexuality, you know. I don't. When you close your bedroom, whatever you do in there, that is between you, your partner, and God. I can't see anything wrong with saying a man is a man and a woman is a woman. What's wrong with saying that in the parliament? Because you know that there are those who want to push a particular agenda, but it is a sensitive topic, and we may have to discuss this in an editorial meeting to figure out how to handle it. But the Prime Minister some people are not happy that the Prime Minister said a man is a man and a woman is a woman. You remember when Bruce Golding went to the BBC and spoke about and gave that interview? You know, this is a very interesting world, because there are whispers, you know, that anyway, let me leave that alone.
Deliver economic benefits. I want anybody to talk about foreign policy.
But indeed, a man is a man, a woman is a woman. Not a problem with that. The Jamaica Hub had a post on it from some humanitarian group talking about. Okay, yeah, there's a statement on that. Let us now, Miss Dion Jackson Miller address the salary issue. Let's listen to Mrs. Dion Jackson as she breaks down this matter of the salary. Dion Jackson Miller.
A month or so ago, we suddenly learned that effective from payday last September 2025, right after the election, the Prime Minister would be receiving his big salary after all.
Yet, Madam Speaker, none of them, with their self-righteous objection, declined to take their salary increase.
All right. Okay.
Except that we're talking about the wrong thing. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Thank you so much for joining me.
Let me make this clear. This is Dion Jackson Miller, and it's time for tea with Dion Jackson. So we don't want to violate her copyright rights. So this is Dion. Let's listen to her.
Time for tea. So many issues have come out of this budget debate I want to talk about. And I know I've been slow getting out the videos, but stay with me, right? That's because I want to think and process some of the issues that have been coming out. That's because I don't do these videos without a lot of thought and preparation. And really, that's how I approach anything I do. So when you see me hosting or moderating a function or an event, just know that hours and hours of prep go into what may look effortless, but it never is. But it is nice if it looks that way. So this is me moderating a panel discussion at the launch of the National Watershed Policy because, again, I can't do everything, but I do have a special interest in legal and environmental issues. The salary issue now, to do with parliamentarians, ready to talk about that right now. So quick reminder, in 2023, parliamentarians gave themselves a salary increase of over 200% as part of the public sector salary reform. When people...
That's not so accurate. The parliamentarians did not give themselves over 200% increase. You see, that's not accurate at all. There was a process, right? Public sector, something or the other, which brought about this. So the Prime Minister, the parliamentarians did not give themselves this increase. Nonetheless, let's hear Miss Jackson.
How the announcement was made, because it looked like they were trying to hide the fact that the increase was going to be given because, of course, in the later part of last year, we were going through the after effects of Hurricane Melissa in a big way. And clearly, it wouldn't have looked good to announce that the Prime Minister was taking this big increase when people did dead, people were missing, people had lost their roofs, people had lost their homes. So yeah, you look at the timeline, election, then bam, salary increase I got take, but we're not told about it until 4 months later. No, that did not look good. So I get the opposition leader wanting to raise it, all right? But Mark, you know something? This is not a hill you can die on. Why not? Because the whole of the rest of your side took the increase happily, and I'm sure have been smiling all the way to the bank ever since. Apart from you, and after that first performative theatrics about, how the increase did too high, they're all taking it. And we know as a fact that whoever takes over the leadership after you is going to take it as well. So what are we really doing here? Then, of course, the PM had to respond when he gave his budget presentation.
So we can leave that alone. So there you have Miss Jackson Miller saying that this is not a hill that Mark can walk over. Quite true. And I think that matter can be left alone. My final piece of tape for you is the Prime Minister speaking about the Jamaica Labour Party's performance.
The Jamaica Labour Party has performed as a government in the last 2 terms over and above other governments since independence in Jamaica. On almost all metrics, the Jamaica Labour Party has outperformed. There has never been a government to have cut crime in half, cut the national debt in half, cut poverty in half, presented 10 budgets with no net new taxes, to have actually given back taxes to the people, to have cut taxes, and to have taken on some of the previously thought to be intractable or impossible problems and address them in substantial ways. In other words, our government has transformed the fundamentals of Jamaica. But let's look at it from another perspective. There's never been a government in independent Jamaica that has had to deal with a pandemic. And we dealt with the pandemic, coming out of it very rapidly, without increasing our debt, without cutting one job in the public sector or cutting any pay in the public sector. And immediately after, increasing public sector wages by the largest increase ever in the history of Jamaica. But more than that, we were hit by a Category 5 hurricane, and then we had 8 solid weeks of rains and tropical storms, which damaged our infrastructure, and we were able to recover quickly from that. So on all metrics of performance, the Jamaica Labour Party has done well. No one contests whether or not the Jamaica Labour Party has performed. Even the most jaded and biased voter has to concede this point. Now, I am not saying that we're a perfect government, but you can't compare us to perfection. You have to compare us to what our competitors have done and what others have done in the past. And if you compare us on that basis, which is the fair basis, we have certainly outperformed. However, elections are not always about the logic of performance. You're not always graded based on how you perform. Now, there's a danger in that, because if it is that political parties can win without performing, then what is the incentive to actually deliver on the promises that they make? And so, yes, elections are also about the future, and it is about, therefore, a promise. Promises can't be delivered by people who have not performed. To take a promise from someone who has not delivered or has a track record of not delivering, you're gambling. You have a far greater possibility and probability of the fulfillment of promises by persons who perform.
Okay, so there you have the Prime Minister speaking about the party being a party that has performed. Now, it's 19 after 7, and I'm coming right to the Harry and Scratchy just after this. Welcome back to everyone watching us here on TikTok. And of course, if you are joining us on any other platform, great to have you. It's 20 minutes after 7 o'clock, and you are, of course, listening to the Hello Neighbor podcast. We have Caroline, Scratchy, Harry, and of course, Shefreen holding things down on the other side of the glass. Harry, good night to you, sir.
Good night, neighbor. Good night, neighbors.
Had a great night?
It's going.
Okay. Harry, you graded the opposition leader's speech last night, and you gave him a mere 9.5. That has caused a bit of this discussion. People are saying that you could have done better. Explain to our listeners, why were you so critical of the opposition leader's speech, and why 9.5?
Well, neighbor, I anticipated that person's vote. In fact, I too got a little nudge about it. Despite the funny things that the persons who nudged me agreed with my arguments and my area of reasoning, but not the scores.
Yes.
And for me, that is inconsistent, because if you agree with the arguments and the reasons, then the scores are what they are.
Yes.
But to be critical of the opposition is not deliberate, but it is what it is. And here's why I say that. When we look at the areas that we selected regarding the speech, a lot of it took into consideration.
Could you speak up a little for me? I'm not hearing you so clear.
Oh, I was saying a lot of
Get up that letter.
the areas that were selected are what are critical areas that you need for a time of a budget like this magnitude.
Yes.
And when we looked at, if we're looking at the opposition speech in isolation, then definitely his scores could be deemed higher. But now when you compare it to that of the Prime Minister, which is also the position that the opposition leader is vying for, then you get to see why persons may say it's critical. But the difference is that you are up against somebody who may be seemed superior to you, which in this case is Mr. Holness compared to Mr. Golding. And he did not rise to the task for several reasons. One, he misrepresented himself as the opposition leader for Jamaica and not the leader for the People's National Party. The
Yes.
budget don't take into consideration you coming and giving a message to your party. That is not it. And when you see a leader of that vying for the highest position in a nation, only really wanting to speak to his base, it simply means you've neglected the rest of Jamaica. And as such, by the law of deduction, that is simply how you'd also operate in the role of Prime Minister. Now, that is not someone you want to be in that position. The next thing is, when you take into consideration the applicability and the tone, you would mistake the fact that Jamaica just went through one of its worst disaster, if not the worst natural disaster ever in its modern history. And you would have mistaken it to say that we have a snap election. That is how far-fetched from the reality the opposition leader was. And you compare it now to, again, Mr. Holness, who understood fully what the Jamaican people required, what they were expecting, and he would have gone above and beyond for quite a number of Jamaicans. Mr. Golding, however, apparently was delivering something as if he's tone deaf. He missed totally, right? The plans that he would have looked at to put forward were not keeping in tangent with a crisis budget, which means you need something in the immediate that also ties in with the future plans laid out. And he wouldn't have done so. In fact, I personally would have gone through in terms of research with some of the pieces and references they would have made from countries, and they clearly didn't understand what they were recommending. So if you were to do a project on this neighbor and present it, they themselves would not have really understood what they're putting forward. And understanding is a critical part to ensure that people can comprehend what you put forward. And the thing about it is that the parliament is the highest level when it comes on to communication medium in the country that you can get. And when you get that level of stage to deliver, you don't just get the chance to just turn up. You have to deliver fully. And then if you look now, neighbor, in terms of vision, which is one of the most critical things coming out of a disaster, what are your plans for the people? How will you lay these plans down, if any, that you have? How do you move us forward? You didn't get that. Like, that in itself, if anybody, whether it be P or J or neutral, I'd love for them to go and listen back Mr. Golding's speech. And if they can tell me that they have an understanding as to a roadmap, as to a plan laid out by Mr. Golding, then I'll buy them lunch, neighbor, right? Because I guarantee you, they will not find the visionary aspect of it that they're looking. In fact, it is one in which the opposition leader was becoming something that he naturally isn't. So his tone, his aggression, his denotation, everything that he did is not of a person with his character. And that is something we have to see. He literally was trying to be somebody else when all that was asked was for you to be you, come and speak to the Jamaican people. You don't need to force anything. There's no real pressure on you as the opposition. And as such, they themselves have created so much pressure that they've totally missed the mark, that he himself would have not understood that this is not a stage where you come and fight for your party leadership. This is not a party budget debate. If you want a party budget debate, you call a meeting with the constituents and so on, and you go and have that debate. This is the matter of Jamaica. This is a national business. This is not a PMP business. It's not a JLP business. This is Jamaica. And again, we got the fact that the opposition leader put party before the people. And you cannot do that. So that is why persons may say I'm very critical, but that is the reasoning behind it. This is a moment that gave them the opportunity to at least come to the people of Jamaica and stand, whether in solidarity or provide proper leadership. Because here on Politics Plus Neighbor, we've been asking the major question as to what type of leader is the opposition leader? What does he stand for? What is his true value in terms of leadership to the nation? And if we were to look at that budget debate, that would have given us a type of leadership that we definitely don't want anymore.
Yeah.
That type of leadership is obsolete.
Well, someone said to me today that the budget process sometimes become less of a budget debate and more of parliamentarians making speeches. But again, Harry, let me put it to you. 9.5 out of 100 is rubbing some people hard. And I think they respect your views and, of course, your ability to analyze. And therefore, it is a serious mark. 9.5, Harry, is less than 10%. And you are saying to me that had you to grade the opposition leader's speech, you wouldn't give him more than 9.5.
Definitely not, neighbor. It's you see, because and we've spoken about this as well.
You have doubled down on it, and you are saying you are standing by that.
I'm standing by it, neighbor, because people need to understand there are more than one ways to look at what is there. So we're coming out. Election has ended a month before the disaster. So let's put it into context. So we had an election. The opposition lost, hence why they're opposition. We then had the worst natural disaster in 174 years, right, in the Atlantic. It is Jamaica's worst natural disaster. We have lost 56%, which is more than half of our economic production. People are being stranded. I'm using the opposition words here. People are in dire need. And when you listen to that speech, neighbor, do you get, and anybody who is listening, and the persons can come up when we do open the lines, did they get the fact that, based on what the opposition has been speaking on, that the tone, the denotation, the information put across, did that cater to the very things that the opposition has been speaking for weeks? So they themselves are also missed what they've been speaking on. Right? Now you look at it and you get a level of thing where the opposition leader has taken it personal now. Remember, this is a national budget debate. It's not an Andrew thing. It's not a Mark Golding thing. But you'd have taken it in a sort where you've now attacked the Prime Minister again for the umpteenth time. That doesn't have anything to deal with the national business. He himself is getting similar salary, maybe a little bit less than 3 million. So you don't call that into question. This is not the stage for that. Any personal rife and yes, I understand there'll be some politicking in it, right? And that is fine. That is okay. But when it becomes fully politicking for your speech, forgetting the people of Jamaica, That is where you are now pushing the lines of where people will be critical of you. The other part to it is that Mr. Holness was surgical. And this is why I said if you placed Golding's speech in isolation, he would have gotten more. But when you looked at what Mr. Holness delivered, probably one of his best ever speeches, and probably one of the best speeches Jamaica has ever seen, right? Especially in terms of how politics have changed. That would have now placed Mr. Golding so far on the backbench, because here is on one hand, you're getting somebody coming at the Prime Minister, playing some politics and so on. But then seeing who he's up against has rose the standard for the umpteenth time again. And the thing about it is that when you go up against somebody who has the ability to go higher each time, and you stay, in fact, I believe, and this may be personal for me, I believe Mr. Golding has lowered his very own standard, because he's not a person who is not intellectually inclined, who is not fully educated, right? But I think he would have lowered his level had he just come and be himself. I'm sure, neighbor, the marks would have been higher, because he would have delivered differently, would have put aside personal things, would have put aside the need to want to fight for his leadership for the party and realize the big issue at hand. But the truth is, Mr. Holness went a few gears up. And as such, you cannot any further look at both speeches in isolation. Hence why Mr. Golding would have gotten such a ridiculous mark, because you cannot separate them, neighbor. They're the two leaders, basically, of the country. And as such, you have to compare and contrast them.
Okay.
And to be lenient on him would be doing injustice as well.
Yeah, I get where you I get your argument. Pardon me. You gave the Prime Minister 94% out of 100, and you gave the opposition leader 9.5. Now, I agree with you, Harry, that the Prime Minister's presentation was a masterclass, that it was very good. And as a matter of fact, I've been looking to see when else have we had such a comprehensive, well thought out budget presentation in light of the context of the national result.
In the words of George Davis, in the words of George Davis, neighbor, it was prime ministerial.
Prime ministerial. There is an argument being made, Harry, that the Prime Minister comes to the debate with an advantage. He has the facts.
Mhm.
He's the one with the purse, and he's the one that is creating the direction for the country. And in that regard, governments normally win budget debates. Do you think that's an argument that you could consider in reviewing your grade of the opposition leader?
So that was taken into consideration, neighbor, in terms of I pretty much knew who would have come out ahead in the debate, but this is the first I'm seeing, and I've had at least a decade of watching budgetary speeches in detail under my belt, and this is the first it has been so far apart, right? And that was troublesome for me. We've never seen an opposition speech, regardless of who's in opposition, whether at the time it would have been Jamaica Labour Party or the People's National Party. We've never seen a speech this poorly done in context to what has happened. And I think because we're in a quote unquote, we're coming out of a crisis per se, to be out of touch of reality is what got Mr. Golding those low marks critically. And for me, I'm standing on that. But in terms of the ruling party or the administration, the government will always have an advantage neighbor.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about that. The other part of it can be true. The opposition does not have any pressure on them to deliver. They themselves don't have to worry too much in terms of implementation of whatever solution and recommendation they put forward, right? That pressure is removed from them, you know. And while they may not have the purse, what they do have is information. And I'll raise an example I'll use something as example. The NHT, Mr. Mr. Holness clarified how that money is spent. That is information the opposition also have. But they chose, and well, let me not say they.
Well, not have. They have access to, because they seem like, you said, like the first time I hear it.
Well, it definitely wouldn't be neighbor, because one of the things when the funds are dispersed, plus remember, the drawdown for the NHC was done by them firstly. So they know the percentage as to what should come in taxation from funds like that. But they would have wanted to play the politics and bring it across as if it was the entire 11.2 or $11.8 billion that the government was taking, typically trying to mislead Jamaicans. And to do that in a time like this, neighbor, you're asking for trouble.
Yes.
So people will be critical of that. So they do have these information to provide better quality in terms of recommendation. And they also did have time, neighbor, because look at it. We're coming through a crisis. This is first we're ever having it. No government will ever get it right. In fact, the government probably never get more than 75% of the response right. That was also an opportunity for the opposition to step up and fill that gap. So that was information they also had. And because it's new to Jamaicans, they will be easier on you as the opposition. But they've also fluffed the lines again. And this is one of the things for me I've been pointing out and watching ever since. Every opportunity the opposition has gotten, they have failed to take advantage of it. And this budget debate, Mark fluffed his lines big time.
Wow. You know, Harry, the Politics Plus podcast, Hello Neighbor, is well listened to, well respected, and therefore a grade like this would have caused some concerns among many people that Politics Plus gave the net leader of the opposition 9.5. I'm going to ask you for the third. I would ask you for the third time. Having reviewed this system of grading, are you standing by a mere 9.5 for the speech delivered in Tuesday by the leader of the opposition? 9.5 out of 100.
I'm standing by it, neighbor. I'm definitely standing, because if so we can always put out the factors that we use to grade, the rubric as we call it in school. All right. And this is the thing about it, neighbor. I am somebody who would have been exposed to a specific course called critical reading and writing.
Yes.
At the university level. The trouble about that course is that it is one of those courses that have held back many people from getting their degrees. Because it doesn't matter what you know in English and literature and all of those things. The best advice that was given to us when we just came and started to do that course is to forget what you knew about the language, forget what you know about literature and all of that, and come and look at what is presented before you and think critically about it. There were pieces we've done that is marked out of 10, and persons who are very versed, persons with one's neighbor, distinctions, I realized got even 1% and sometimes 0 point something percent, because it forces you to look beyond what is presented, find the hidden information, and also when you've grasped what that I've taught you, you then contextualize everything holistically. And that is one of the things that has also improved the level of emotional intelligence to see and bring everything together. You realize I go back to the election, the disaster, the response of said disaster, and also the stage that we're at and how we need to go forward. Those 5 things, the opposition leader has fluffed his line massively, and those are critical to how you would have prepared yourself, right, for the budget debate, how you'd have come to deliver the budget debate, and what you say in the budget debate to inspire, to motivate, and so people can actually comprehend where you, as the opposition leader, would take the country in the now, for the present, in the near future, and the distant future until the next election. That is the area of reasoning and understanding and what created those grades. And that's where the opposition failed to actually take into consideration.
We're coming right back. So much for staying with us here on the Hello Neighbor podcast with Neighbor and Harry speaking about the budget presentations. Among many other things, we're hoping to be joined by the raspy voice Scratchy in a little bit. Thank you so much for staying tuned. In and now, Harry, you, on the other hand, the comrades are very, very, very sad, but I guess better luck next time. You have given the Prime Minister almost a 94% for his presentation. Would you highlight for us the main positives of the presentation that caused you to give him such a high grade? What were the things that impressed you? And of course, those areas of the presentation that brought you to such a point of such a large mark.
Okay. Well, the thing about it, neighbor, was that taking into consideration, we knew, and anybody who doesn't know, Mr. Holness is a very good communicator, right? I think the years of his teaching has let him own that craft, which is not something you see a lot in the political arena these days. You get a lot of gimmickry and so on, but he stood on that. And seeing that he took all the criticism that was laid out to him, right? And he came and put the people's business first, because we did anticipate that he would have to give a response back to the opposition leader based on some things that were said. But he did it in a way that wasn't overbearing. It was palatable. It was statesmanlike as well. So he didn't have to to stoop to a level where it wasn't of him. So we didn't get a different style of Mr. Wholeness as we see with Mr. Golding, where he himself became a total different person. Because we don't know of the opposition leader being that level of aggression and stuff like that. But Mr. Wholeness himself kept his cool, delivered what is at hand, and the importance as to the nation's business. Because it's very easy to play politics when you get so much things thrown at you, right? You can easily be sidetracked. And the thing about it is that he didn't get sidetracked. So he showed that he was focused, right? Now, how he took apart everything that, was in the space, he looked at the disaster, he gave details, especially regarding how NARA will overlook. So that showed that NARA was not just as a response for the disaster, but also it tied in to the rest of the plans for the next 5 years while he's the leader, right? While he's the prime minister. And that was beautiful because we had a lot of questions regarding how it would be integrated. And I know there's still some questions to be answered. Now, he laid out, neighbor, the average man could understand the plan that was laid out. Because we had a lot of. So when you look at it, for one, if you reside anywhere in Black River, St. Elizabeth, going around, there's a lot of questions. How are we going to build back better? How are we going to, go forward? And he laid out a five-point plan significantly, where he not just took into consideration the areas and parishes that were most impacted, but also almost every parish in Jamaica can say they were getting something, some level of development, some level of advancement, and all of that was placed in his plan, his roadmap. So even if you are somebody who comprehend things differently, we can literally draw a map, neighbor, and you'll see right round. And there were some visuals as well, a lot of pictures, so persons who are visual learners could actually see what he was speaking about. The oral persons would definitely understand. He then doubled down and give you on almost a minuscule level where he let you know what area we're looking at to do certain developments, what these developments are, what they're looking to achieve for the small man, for the businesses, for the private sector, so on. And he took you on that journey starting from Black River, coming right around the country. And he hit the nail on the head on a lot of hard things that Jamaicans have been asking for. So, for example, housing, right? How are you going to now unlock the potential of what is there? Not just the resources that is at NHT, but what are the plans you'll do to get that implementation done? And when you see things like roads being built into new areas for connecting mainstream areas to secondary and unlocking lands that the NHG can use, which really would address a daunting issue, which is a housing issue in Jamaica, which the opposition also doubled down on and never had any proper recommendation about. And he showed you that while we're doing infrastructural development, we didn't do it in silos. We didn't isolate these developments. We had everything interlocked. And as he took you around that journey, you also saw the fact that he was doing this for the people of Jamaica, because easily, neighbor, you could have, if you were playing politics, you could have brushed across Westmoreland because the Jamaica Labour Party didn't win any seat there and so on.
Yes.
Partial in terms of Hanover. But he let them realize that I am in the capacity of the Prime Minister. I'm delivering for the people. I don't govern for my people alone. I don't govern for those who voted for me. I govern for everybody in Jamaica and also the diaspora, because they weren't left out.
Yes.
And when you look at that, neighbor, you have to say this is probably one of the first time we've seen such a comprehensive layout in a budgetary speech that people could get into, people could buy into. It gave hope to those who are here, those who would have lost a lot of things, specifically those who would have lost neighbor, because to know you're down that side and you're not sure in terms of how housing will go, you're displaced. If you're somebody who was either squatting or lease land, you got an idea as to what would happen, and you felt you got a level of ease. You were inspired, you were motivated, and at the same time, you would have bought into the vision of a level of advancement where it no longer becomes just me. So you take the self-interest out of it, right, as an individual, and now buy into a national pride. And that is what would have looked in terms of the vision, the visionary that is there, that was laid out.
Yes.
Now, you have to respect that and appreciate it at the highest level, which I believe one of that, the scores would have been 10 for that. And that would have been impressive. Person probably would have said less, I don't know. But when you got it, he also took us through a little history initially in his budget speech to let us know how we got here. And this wasn't one in which where persons would have think he would have come and talk about FinSac and all of that. No, he took it to more modern times in history. He went philosophical as well, which would have caused some people some problems to say, I wonder where he's going with it. And you got that. You got the jabs. So you got a little of everything. But when you left what he put down, you bought into it. You want to see Jamaica move. You actually say, yes, these are plans that you'd actually see in first world nations. And to hear it being laid out in little Jamaica is impressive.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Harry. We did the listeners, we did the National Mood Index, stimulated using a matrix poll for the budget speeches, and we're going to be discussing the results of them when we come right back with Harry. The results are fascinating. We're coming right back to tell you what the people are saying about the budget presentations of the leader of the opposition and, of course, the Prime Minister. It's not a scientific poll. It's a weighted matrix that the Politics Plus uses to measure the pulse of the people. Of course, we have an extensive one coming up in April. You can't afford to miss it. Okay. So Harry, the first question. Are you there?
I'm hearing you.
Yeah. The first question is, which one of the leaders had a better budget presentation?
It would be Mr. Ho.
Oh, no. I'm telling you what the poll is. I just want you to comment on the results. 68% is saying wholeness, and 32% said Mark Golding. That's the online poll. That mind you, it's not a scientific poll. It's just using some algorithm based on discussions in the country. So a clear 68% says the Prime Minister speech was better than wholeness. Mark came out at 32. Comment on that.
I mean, I think if my grades were like that, it would be more palatable to the people listening.
well,
but I think
yeah, out of about 100 people, that's what they're saying.
And it's rather accurate, neighbor. I think when you look at it, you'd of course have persons who stand on one side.
Yeah,
which would have made the numbers not as bad. Yeah.
Then there was a second question. The question is that which one of the speech had a clearer development path? And here again, the Prime Minister came out with 78% to Golding 22. Harry?
and that speaks, neighbor, to the standard that the people are looking for. They want to know what you're going to do and how you'll bring the country forward. So that in itself is coming close to my type of grades in a neighbor.
No, it is no, on the developmental path. I really think the Prime Minister was very much strong, right? And these results are not far from what we were actually saying here.
Yeah, and it points out that it's not just people would think that our views are in isolation and so on. It is showing. I mean, yes, it's not scientific and so on, but it is just people who would have shared their perspective, and you get a taste as to what the people are thinking.
Right. And then the third question, which is leaned towards what is called election reality. The people were asked, who would you prefer to be Prime Minister after listening to their budget presentation? 82% said Holness to 18% Golden.
I'm definitely not surprised by that, neighbor. But neighbor, these numbers, mine, let them think of me, do it,
No. That this is related to the budget presentation. People say when they listen to the two men, what was it? 88? Yeah. Percent says that Holness would be preferred as Prime Minister at this time. So the opposition will have some work to do. Harry.
Neighbor, that is more than just a work for them, and it speaks volumes in a neighbor. I think it's a wake up call for them now. If they didn't take us serious because they don't think we know what we're saying, those few months coming in to know that we've been asking for them to step up to the plate.
Yeah.
This is the reality. This is the wake up call for them.
Yes. So based on modeled audience sentiments and recent election trends, the country appears firmly behind Holness at around, this is now the general numbers that we're looking at, 68 to 32, suggesting that Jamaica is becoming almost a one-party state. But they are cautioning that it's kind of volatile and it is very early into the election cycle. But these numbers are interesting, Harry, to say the very least.
Definitely. The thing about it, and funny enough, neighbor, if we put context to it, we're still in the recovery mode after the worst disaster, and to see the people are saying, if the election is the call tomorrow, we will trust the Holness administration
by 68,
to take us through again.
68% is even being so unscientific. It's a very comfortable place to be.
Neighbor, even with an error, let's say of give or take 10%.
Yeah, which is probably what we would have to apply. And I don't think it is that I don't think it's that far, because these online algorithms are not bad in terms of forecasting. Harry, I can tell you that they're not bad.
I mean, it takes into consideration
public sentiment.
I said it takes into consideration the line in which people are thinking a lot.
Public sentiments.
Yeah.
Okay. The prediction from it in terms of election out is interesting, but I will not say that one just yet. The election is 4 years away. We have to do that. But then we're gonna have some fascinating results starting in April. In terms of this, but again, the Prime Minister has won in terms of a better budget presentation, the Prime Minister has won in terms of a clearer development path, and the Prime Minister is way ahead in terms of who people prefer to be Prime Minister based on listening to the speech. And I don't think that is hard to understand, Harry, that listening to both of these men, I think Wholeness is shining right now.
He has, neighbor, and the thing about it is that it is, and again, we want to say listeners, it's not scientific numbers, but it shows a level of trust that has been built by Wholeness with the people of Jamaica, because it is not an easy feat to just be coming out of an election and then dealing with a disaster. We're still there. We're still in not the baby phase, maybe the toddler phase of the recovery, and people still trust his leadership. And of course, in comparison to that of the opposition leader. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, listeners, we're gonna open the lines and ask you to come up and share your views with us. Myself and Harry, we are here. You can ask questions. You can come up at this time. So let's do that now. In another minute, let's do that. Okay. All right. So we're opening the lines to your views. You don't get a chance to come up here as often as you would like, but here's your night. Come on, it's Friday. So I made these comments during our notes last night. Listen a bit. Budget presentation. I heard not just policy, but philosophy and architecture. It's a bit too low, so we're not going to be able to do that. So we're going to give the listeners a little bit of time, 2-3 minutes. Well, who do we have? Who do we have here now?
Protecting JA.
Oh, hello, sir. How are you doing?
Good evening, neighbor. Evening, Harry. Listeners.
Yes.
Good
evening. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm okay, neighbor.
What are your reflections? We are nearing the end of the budget presentation. But by the way, would you like to comment on our online poll that shows that the Prime Minister has a commanding preference in terms of people seeing him based on the budget speech as the preferred leader for the country? 68% to 22.
Last night, neighbor, Harry did a good job in grading the Prime Minister versus the opposition leader out of 10. Harry's numbers are being reflected in your poll. And Harry's numbers, even though Harry was a little bit gracious to Mark Golding, Harry's numbers, I think, were reflecting the sentiment of a great deal of Jamaicans. I mean, I even hear comrades saying they're backing the Prime Minister on a few things. And that is significant. So your numbers, neighbor, as you said, the algorithm did justice to what you
To public sentiment. Public
achieve.
sentiment.
Yes, the algorithm did some justice there.
So 100 Jamaicans are polled online, and 68% of them, random people, not don't know them, say the Prime Minister did better, and that they would prefer to have him as their Prime Minister. That is based on the budget presentation. Now, we're not talking about next year, we're talking about now. Because remember that all polls are snapshots.
In time, yes.
But I don't think even being unscientific, that this is far from your own view.
No, it is not far from a majority of Jamaicans' view. You see, neighbor, as I was saying to you a few days ago, even though I used some very colorful language back in that discussion, Mark Golding missed the mark.
He missed the mark.
You see, the PMP, they are not reading the room, Jamaica neighbor. They're not. They are not realizing that Jamaica has indeed moved away from that kind of politics that they practice. And any sensible organization that is serious about continuing through time, has to take into consideration adaptation of new norms. This is not 1970s, as the Prime Minister told them, left that long in 1970. You know? And the PMP are struggling to move away from that which they deem to be the most important of the cornerstone that established them. And so Mark Golding missed the mark. And whoever wrote his speech, even though I think they relied heavily on the AI, but they're really not paying attention. Mark Golding would have been a superhero today if he had come with a sort of conciliatory presentation. If he walked down the middle, leaving the bluster and the disrespect, you know, if he walked down the middle of the aisle in a conciliatory way, understanding that the election done and gone and Melissa devastated 5 parishes of Jamaica, and it is going to take all hands on deck and all hearts together to repair the nation. If he had come with, even with his suggestions that he had put forward, but if he had come meek and mild and humble to the people of Jamaica, he would be featuring very well today after Prime Minister Holness spoke yesterday. But no, he could not resist the nonsense that he came with on Tuesday. And neighbor, yesterday, I want to say this very clearly. Yesterday, what
you're breaking up. You're breaking up. No, you're gonna have to come again. No, you're breaking up there, sir.
You're not.
No, not hearing you at all.
Okay, I mean, all
right. Let's take him out of that bad position and let us see if we can get a chance to hear what he has to say. Sheffreen, how are things on the other side? Sheffreen, how are things on behind the glass here? Are you hearing us okay? Let me hear from you, Minister of Technology. fascinating SNAP online poll results. Not scientific, but 68, 12, 32 people suggesting that the Prime Minister's budget presentation was better. 72-28 saying that the Prime Minister gave a clearer development path for Jamaica, and 68-22 saying that the Prime Minister is preferred. Based on this presentation, they would want him to continue as Prime Minister. Are you there with me now, sir? No. No. All right, let's go over to Lavi as protecting sort out his internet and come back with us. Good evening to you, Lavi.
Good evening, neighbor. Good evening, neighborites and friends.
Fantastic. Would you want to comment on these SNAP numbers, Lavi? 22% says that Golden should continue. Well, based on the budget speech, Prime Minister out front, it's 68%.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I would expect that if people are actually thinking that that would be about what is right, given the state of the game at this stage, yes, I would expect this.
Yeah, about 100 people is not a lot of people across Jamaica, and of course, these 100 people are in what we call the battleground constituencies, where the elections are decided, which is why it becomes even more relevant to the politics ahead.
That's true.
Lavi, the Prime Minister has been able, this is his 11th budget presentation, and I listened to him yesterday, Lavi, and he seemed to be a man that is just ready for the job. Do you get that impression that he's not running out of ideas? Because you can be in a job for a long time and then you become, lazy, you become not interested. This seemed like a man that is just ready to serve. You don't get that impression that the vision, the ideas are just flowing out of him.
I have said it before that the more crisis that this man is confronted by is the greater he becomes.
Yes.
He seemed to relish the challenge. And I don't know if anybody else could say it differently. Based on his approach, and I have listened how he spoke about the tragedy of Melissa, but he has never ceased to talk about the opportunity that it presents.
Yes.
And when a person approach challenges in that way, when they acknowledge what has happened, but they never lose sight of the opportunity that has presented itself, those persons are always visionaries who are never afraid of challenges, because they always feel as if every situation holds within it its own share of opportunity and power. And I think that he's doing that right now. I think he relishes it, and I have said it before, that if those with political interests thought that this hurricane was going to break this government, this hurricane has actually given them a gift, because it has given them something to rally around. Now you think about this, neighbor. This government has been through a pandemic, which no other government in our country has ever been through one. We came out of it looking great. Then Beryl hit. Just imagine that we never have a crisis going into the next couple of years. There is a strong possibility that the government could start to suffer from boredom and complacency, because they don't have anything that is challenging them. And I think that this government has shown that it seems as if when things are when they are confronted by the shocks that come, whether from within or without, they rise to the occasion with relish. They don't seem to be flustered. Things might not move as quickly as we would have wanted, especially during an emergency like Melissa. But I find that this government seems to relish the opportunity to face challenges.
Yes.
Yes, and that is why you can see when I sat and listened to the Prime Minister laying out the infrastructural development that is going to happen in Jamaica. I'm telling you, neighbor, like I don't know, I couldn't describe how I felt. I was so proud of my country. I was so proud of my government that here we are turning a crisis into greatness. Because I think